Hare Krishna. Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
Yana Yasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Tapidam Yana Bhutale Swim Rupa Katamahayam Dadati Swab Padani Tikam Vandeham Gurue Sri Anapada Kamalam Sri Gurue Vaishnavaishnam Cha Sri Rupam Sagarajitam Sagaganga Raghunandam Tam Tam Ya Sajivam Sadavaitam Sadavidam Parinyana Sachidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Saga Jnana Lalita Sri Vishagava Vidam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Goptika Kalta Radha Kalta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Guruaki Radha Vrindaneswari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranyanam Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Sarupaya Cha Kripa Sindhuve Ivacha Patitanam Pavane Bhuyo Vaishnava Bhuyo Namo Namaha Hari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaurav Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So today we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2. We will aim to cover the first 11 verses of this chapter. Before that, we'll begin with you all explaining one or more points and asking one or more questions. Somebody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Sorry, go ahead. Start.
One very important aspect we learned last class is applying an antiseptic. So normally we apply an antiseptic on a wound to remove the microorganisms. But here, if we are continuously in remembrance of Lord Krishna and that via his instructions, then automatically we are, having the antiseptic all around us, because any kind of material miseries or you gave an example where, some junior devotee is trying to surpass, we can just take it as it's between the devotee and Krishna, not even to, find fault or be bothered at all. Because, we are finding fault. If we find fault in others, that means we have that fault. So just continue our devotional service and, you're not going to be affected by anything. So that's the antiseptic truth.
Yeah, very, very good explanation. Okay.
Here from rivers is when you visit a temple and look after them. Prosperity and happiness because of the Lord. Thinking all the time of the Lord is an antiseptic and a constant education. Practice constant focus on the Lord. The world is full of crazy people. Your spiritual life is threatened like COVID epidemic. We cannot change them. Therefore, look at myself as to how to protect from material contamination. Kundi Devi treated Madhuri's children like her own children because Madhuri's she lived for the sake of young children. Signs of Mahatma is compassion for ordinary people. Vaishnavas desires good for all good people. Yogamaya situation which help us to look at ourselves. One point, it is just coming back in the situation. Vaishnavas use this situation for humility, devotees, karma, always taking care. What did I learn from Dharma? I do not know. attitude, learn to tolerate, try to get spiritual energy. It is a test for God Himself. Chanting and giving gives spiritual energy. By Krishna's arrival, karmis and jnanis are benefited. Vidura visited Tirtha to recite Krishna Katha and chant glories of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Somebody else? Any inquiries? Somebody?
Regarding last week homework, Prabhuji, why list reasons for Lord Krishna why he did not chastise. What I understood is Lord wanted to relieve this burden of opulence, education, and followers from the earth. That is why he was waiting for the opportunity to gather them together in the battlefield to kill them together. That is the reason he was keeping quiet.
Okay. Okay, good point. To remove the burden caused by the kings who were puffed up by three kinds of opulences. And that's why Krishna assembled all of them in one place in Kurukshetra, and Krishna did a shortcut. Plus, Krishna wanted to give the credit to his devotee Arjuna. Therefore, Krishna did not chastise the Kauravas when Draupadi was dishonored. Okay. So we'll continue.
Another thing I realized, Prabhuji, Lord Krishna has killed all those people earlier, Bhishma, etc., Duryodhana. But he wanted to kill all together at a time. And he is always merciful that he wants to give the credit to the devotees like Arjuna. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So we'll now continue with Canto 3, Chapter 2, and I'll lay the context that Vidura, in this previous chapter we discussed, is insulted by Duryodhana very badly. And Vidura sees this as Yogamaya helping Vidura to get out of the war, so that plus Vidura is able to travel to pilgrimage. While traveling, Vidura finally meets Uddhava, and Vidura inquires the well-being of all, starting from Krishna and Balram. Vidura wants to hear Krishna Katha. We will discuss today that Uddhava is not able to answer to Vidura, and Uddhava immediately remembers Krishna, and Uddhava goes into ecstasy. In our today's discussion, we'll discuss that there are many signs of ecstasy seen in Uddhava. This Canto 3, Chapter 2 is titled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Chapter 2 is divided into 5 parts. Part 1 is verses 1 to 6. Title is Uddhava's Exalted Position. Part 2 is verses 7 to 11. Unfortunate situation of Yadu's. Part 3 is verses 12 to 14. Uddhava remembers attractive beauty of the Lord. Part 4 is verses 15 to 24. Lord Krishna's bewildering activities. Part 5, verses 25 to 34. Synopsis of Vraja pastimes. Shalini will read verse 1 and 2 translations.
Hare Krishna. Text 1. Shri Sukadev Goswami said, when the great devotee Uddhava was asked by Vidura to speak on the messages of the dearest, Lord Krishna, Uddhava was unable to answer immediately due to excessive anxiety at the remembrance of the Lord. Text 2. He was one who even in his childhood, at the age of 5 years, was so absorbed in the service of Lord Krishna that when he was called by his mother for morning breakfast, he did not wish to have it. Hare Krishna.
When Vidura asked about Krishna, Uddhava could not answer to Vidura because of the separation from Krishna. Gradually, Uddhava got into remembrance of Krishna and Krishna's childhood activities. Uddhava apparently forgot everything, and upon questions from Vidura, Uddhava simply remembered Krishna. Uddhava when he was a child, he was an extraordinary child. Both Uddhava as well as Parikshit Maharaj are exalted personalities. When Uddhava was 5 years of age, he would make image of Krishna and offer items of worship to Krishna. And in the purport of translation and purport of verse number 2, it describes that Uddhava did not want to eat, even though he's a small child. Why? Because Uddhava was thinking that the worship of Krishna was still incomplete. And only after completing the worship will Uddhava eat. This shows that Uddhava is not in bodily concept. And Srila Prabhupada explains that Srila Prabhupada himself got the same facility when Srila Prabhupada was young. Srila Prabhupada's family every day used to go to temple. And in Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, it's explained that Srila Prabhupada organized Rath Yatra when Srila Prabhupada was about 5 years of age, distributing prasadam, etc. And then Srila Prabhupada expanded Rath Yatra all over the world, and now it's more than 700 plus centers. In the purport, Prabhupada explains that this verse is talking about the proper training should be given by parents. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 6.41 that devotees get opportunity to take birth in Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe. Srila Prabhupada is saying that not only in Uddhava's heart, but devotional service or prema for Krishna is there in everyone's heart eternally, including in the hearts of animals. When one hears the glories of Krishna, the dormant Krishna consciousness will be awakened and one will start practicing devotional services. Questions, comments, realizations? Then the next verse,
Prabhuji,
yeah.
Uddhava forgot physical plane but remember Lord by reference to the context. He was in the ecstasy of remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. For Uddhava, there is no difference between his personal presence and remembrance. I want you to kindly tell us that what do you mean to understand better physical plane, but remember Lord by reference to the context.
Okay,
I want
it's an upcoming discussion in one of the verses we'll be covering today. So just park for a little while and we'll discuss when it comes. And if it
Okay.
doesn't get answered, then you can pick up the question again.
Okay.
This next verse, number 3, I have pointed to few as to what happens when you act at the level of soul. And the verse reference of Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-3 is very easy reference to remember. Mother Jija, if you want to read verse number 3 translation and the purport.
Text 3. Uddhava thus served the Lord continuously from childhood, and in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. Purport. Transcendental service to the Lord is not mundane. The service attitude of the devotee gradually increases and never becomes slackened. Generally, in old age, a person is allowed retirement from mundane service, but in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no retirement at all. On the contrary, the service attitude increases more and more with the progress of age. In the transcendental service, there is no satiation and therefore there is no retirement. Materially, when a man becomes tired of rendering service in his physical body, he is allowed retirement. But in the transcendental service, there is no feeling of fatigue because it is spiritual service and is not on the bodily plane. Service on the bodily plane dwindles on the body as the body grows older, but the spirit is never old, and therefore on the spiritual plane the service is never tiresome. Uddhava undoubtedly became old, but it does not mean that his spirit became old. His service attitude matured on the transcendental plane, and therefore as soon as he was questioned by Vidura about Lord Krishna, he at once remembered his Lord by reference to the context and forgot himself on the physical plane. This is a sign of pure devotional service to the Lord, as will be explained later on. Lakshana Nam Bhakti Yogasya, etc. in Lord Kapila's instruction to his mother Devahuti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So even though Uddhava's body aged, still Uddhava's services increased more and more, and Uddhava is not feeling tired at all. In material world, with old age, one retires from active duty, but when one is acting at the level of soul, the services increase. In material world, there is retirement, but in spiritual world, there is no retirement. One can render service till the end of life because devotee not rendering service at bodily level. As age increases, the bliss, the ecstasy increases. Service attitude increases. Not like in the material world, where by the increase of age, the working ability decreases. At the soul level, there is no tiredness. The tiredness is only at the bodily level. When Vidura asked some questions about Krishna, Uddhava immediately started to remember Krishna's lotus feet. Devotee constantly hearing Krishna Katha are never influenced by time, both by the rising and setting of sun. The duration of life decreases, except for those who are engaged in devotional services. So I have a question for you all. What are some of the examples that even in old age one is actively serving? Many of you may know many examples, some from Bhagavatam, some from in person. Somebody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can you please repeat the question?
Question is, what are some of the examples that even in old age one is actively doing devotional services?
Prabhu, are you asking examples of, devotees?
Yeah.
Prabhu, it will be Kunti Maharani,
Okay.
Vidura,
Okay.
Uddhava, of course, we just studied.
Okay. Okay. Somebody else? What are some of the examples?
Visiting temples, remembering, doing puja to,
Yeah, no, those
offering
are
food to.
activities. I'm asking for examples as to who, which devotee that you can think of. Okay, Srila Prabhupada is for sure a living example for all of us, that he started setting up ISKCON almost at the age of 70. That's definitely a very advanced age. And there are many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam. One example is, say, Sanatana Goswami. He is circumambulating Govardhan even at the age of 80 plus. And Krishna himself actually asked Sanatana Goswami to stop, but Sanatana just continued. He says, no, I will just continue. So the learning for us, at least for me, is that we can increase our service. If service is not at bodily level, then there will be no obstacles. The point is that service attitude should increase with increase in age. With each progression of age should increase the service attitude. The one point from the Sanskrit of this verse, there is a word kale, kalena, in the second line, kalena. So generally kale or kal can refer to time, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, prominent Acharya in disciplic succession, he clearly describes that this kala is not referring to time. The kala refers to that Uddhava did all his services at proper time. Just as, for example, at the temple, we have Mangalarti always at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. So this is the correct meaning. That Kala does not refer to the eternal time, but Kala refers to that Uddhava did his services at proper time. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay.
Just one thing to add, all our experience when we are, serving Srimati Radharani, working in the kitchen, we can make out that it's in the spiritual plane because the body doesn't get tired at all. But the moment we, switch back and then come home, then you can make out the body is really tired.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I explained this same verse to Shalini multiple times. That Shalini does, not just Shalini, many other devotees do services non-stop, running up and down in Srimati Radharani's kitchen, including today, many of us will be doing. He took services non-stop for many, many hours. And there is no tiredness because everyone is doing services at the level of soul. Okay, very good. Chandra Aunty will read verse number 4 translation.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Text 4. For a moment, he remained dead silence, and his body did not move. He became absorbed in the nectar of remembering the Lord's lotus feet in devotional ecstasy, and he appeared to be going increasingly deeper into that ecstasy. Hare Krishna.
When Vidura asking question, Uddhava went into ecstasy for one muhurta, that is 48 minutes, because Uddhava started remembering all the particulars of the Lord when Lord was physically present. And Lord is always present. We will soon read that Uddhava went to spiritual world by meditation and met Krishna in the spiritual world, and Krishna pacified Uddhava and asked Uddhava to go back to answer Vidura's questions. Only then Uddhava came back to the material plane, to his external consciousness. And this is what Uncle was asking, and we'll soon read and discuss. So as soon as Vidura asked the question, as if Uddhava remembered the activities again, it's not as if Uddhava actually remembered the activities of the Lord again. And Uddhava felt the same experience from remembering the Lord, just as when Krishna was actually present. Because there is no difference between Krishna, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's name, all are identical with the personality of Krishna. Many spiritual masters, senior devotees, when they describe about Krishna, when they are giving a class about Krishna, they are actually able to see Krishna face to face. And whatever pastimes they are describing, actually Krishna manifests that pastimes in front of them. And whatever these spiritual masters, these senior devotees are visualizing in front of them, that's what they are describing in the class. This has many devotees describe. I have also heard from direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada that one time devotees were present and they explained what they saw in Srila Prabhupada. This is actually there in one of Srimad Bhagavatam lectures. Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture on the Ajamil pastime. So many of you know Ajamil pastime, that how he called out the name Narayan, his son, even though he's not calling Narayan Lord Narayan, and the Vishnu Duta came and helped him. So when Srila Prabhupada was giving this lecture, Srila Prabhupada went silent, and Srila Prabhupada went into deep ecstasy. And Srila Prabhupada remained silent, and Srila Prabhupada soon concluded his lecture, and there were tears flowing from Srila Prabhupada's eyes. And these devotees have seen it physically, which is described someplace. And one of the devotees who was attending this lecture asked Srila Prabhupada about this ecstasy and his tears, whether Srila Prabhupada saw Lord Narayan face to face. And Srila Prabhupada nodded his head on this point. And there are a couple devotees here they have visited Toronto temple multiple times. And they have also explained this, that they have notice the ecstasy in Srila Prabhupada, exactly what Vidura is seeing the ecstasy in Uddhava. And this is also funny that sometimes when Srila Prabhupada was physically present, I mean, he's present, but I cannot see. When Srila Prabhupada was physically present and giving lectures, sometimes Srila Prabhupada will ask for an additional asan to sit besides him. Now, devotees would wonder, why is Srila Prabhupada asking for an additional asan? Prabhupada is already sitting on his asan. Because Srila Prabhupada would say that the another asan is for Srila Narad Muni. Because pure devotees can see other pure devotees, they can see Lord Narayan. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada will many times ask, can you please put another asan here? He won't say who's coming, but offline, Srila Prabhupada will explain to devotees as to what this other asan was. Questions, comments, realizations? Mother Chanandi, read the purport, faster pace. Verse number 4.
Yes, purport. On the inquiry by Vidura about Krishna, Uddhava appeared to be awakened from slumber. He appeared to regret that he had forgotten the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus he again remembered the lotus feet of the Lord and remembered all his transcendental loving service into him. And by so doing, he felt the same ecstasy that he used to feel in the presence of the Lord. Because the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his remembrance and his personal presence. Thus, Uddhava remembered completely silent for a moment, but then he appeared to be going deeper and deeper into ecstasy. Feelings of ecstasy are displayed by highly advanced devotees of the Lord. There are 8 kinds of transcendental changes in the body: tears, shivering of the body, perspiration, restlessness, trembling, choking of the throat, etc. And all were manifested by Uddhava in the presence of Vidura. Hare Krishna.
Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. Next few verses, we will see how Uddhava got transferred to the transcendental plane. Uddhava met Krishna face to face. Krishna pacified Uddhava, and Krishna asked Uddhava to go back to earthly consciousness because Vidura is waiting to hear back from Uddhava. This is where uncle's question will get answered about the earthly plane and the transcendental plane. Uncle, if you want to read verse number 5 translation.
Hare Krishna. It was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to total ecstasy. And he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus, Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. Hare Krishna.
So various ecstasies are described in the purport, and these symptoms of ecstasy we have discussed in Nectar of Devotion, the Bhava Bhakti chapters. The Nectar of Devotion Bhava Bhakti chapters are 17 and 18. I will, after we finish these verses, I will summarize some key points about ecstasies. In the purport for this verse number 5, Srila Prabhupada describes that there are 3 different stages of development in devotional service. First stage is following regulative principles. Second stage is assimilation and realization of steady devotional service. And the third stage is that of ecstasy, symptomized by transcendental bodily expressions. This is where Uddhava is, where his body is showing all these signs of ecstasy. Gopal Prabhu, if you want to read verse number 6 translation.
Hare Krishna. Verse 6 translation. The great devotee Uddhava soon came back from the abode of the Lord to the human plane, and wiping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. Hare Krishna.
So Uddhava returned to earthly plane from the planet of God. It is clearly evident that Uddhava went to the Lord's spiritual world. Although Uddhava's physical body is here on earth, but through his consciousness, Uddhava went to the spiritual world, and there in the spiritual world, Krishna pacified Uddhava, and Krishna asked Uddhava to go back to the earthly plane to answer to Vidura. Krishna said, whenever you remember me, I will be there with you. So some may think that to receive the mercy of Narasimhadev, we have to be at the level of Prahlad Maharaj. No, this is incorrect thinking, because anyone can get blessings of Narasimhadev exactly how Narasimhadev placed his hand on Prahlad Maharaj. How is this possible? The answer is by chanting the holy name is not different from Krishna. When one chants Krishna's name, Krishna appears and dances on the tongue. If Krishna is not present, then one cannot chant Krishna's name. Meaning, when you chant, this is equal to getting the blessings that Prahlad Maharaj got from Narasimhadev. So Uddhava went to the spiritual world in Dwarka, and then after speaking with Krishna, then he came back to the material world. So physically Uddhava's body is present here, but Uddhava's consciousness got transferred to the spiritual world. So pure devotees can simultaneously be present at both places, because pure devotees have the same characteristics as the Lord. Hence, pure devotees can be simultaneously present in the material world and in the spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada is also a perfect example that Srila Prabhupada is also living eternally in all the temples all around the world. There are a few devotees who will describe that Srila Prabhupada came in their dreams, and Srila Prabhupada gave direct instructions to them. So Srila Prabhupada right now is simultaneously living in all these 700 plus ISKCON centers that we have all around the world. And this is possible for Lord's advanced devotees. This way we can understand that Uddhava first went to the spiritual world at his consciousness level, and then Uddhava came back to the earthly plane upon instructions of Krishna. Gopal Prabhu, if you want to read purport verse number 6 translation, faster pace.
Hare Krishna. When Uddhava was fully absorbed in the transcendental ecstasy of love of God, he actually forgot all about the external world. The pure devotee lives constantly in the abode of Supreme Lord, even in the present body, which apparently belongs to this world. The pure devotee is not exactly on the bodily plane, since he is absorbed in the transcendental thoughts of the Supreme. When Uddhava wanted to speak to Vidura, he came down from the abode of the Lord, Dwarka, to the material plane of human beings. Even though a pure devotee is present on this mortal planet, is here in relation to the Lord for engagement in transcendental loving service and not for any material cause. A living entity can either live either on the material plane or on the transcendental abode of the Lord in accordance with his existential condition. The conditional changes of the living entity are explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the instructions given in Srila Rupa Goswami by Lord Sri Chaitanya. The living entities all over the universes are enjoying the effects of the respective fruitive results of their own work, life after life. Out of all of them, some may be influenced by the association of pure devotees and thus get the chance to execute devotional service by attainment of taste. This taste is the seed of devotional service, and one who is fortunate enough to have received such a seed is advised to sow it to the core of his heart. As one cultivates a seed by pouring water to fructify it, the seed of devotional service sown in the heart of a devotee may be cultured by pouring water in the form of hearing and chanting of the holy name and pastimes of the Lord. The creeper of devotional service, so nourished, gradually grows, and the devotee, acting as a gardener, goes on pouring the water of constant hearing and chanting. The creeper of devotional service gradually grows so high that it passes through the entire material universe and enters into the spiritual sky, growing still higher and higher until it reaches the planet Golaka Vrindavana. The devotee gardener is in touch with the abode of the Lord, even from the material plane, by dint of performing devotional service to the Lord simply by hearing and chanting. As a creeper takes shelter of another strong tree, similarly the creeper of devotional service, nourished by the devotee, takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and thus becomes fixed. When the creeper is fixed, then the fruit of the creeper comes into existence, and the gardener who nourished it is able to enjoy this fruit of love, and his life becomes successful. That Uddhava attained this stage is evident from his dealings. He could simultaneously reach the supreme planet and still appear in this world. Hare Krishna.
Okay, uncle, does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I will list some of Uddhava's transcendental qualities that are described in verses 1 to 6. Uddhava could not immediately answer to Vidura's question due to excessive anxiety due to separation from Krishna and the remembrance of Lord Krishna. In his childhood, Uddhava was so absorbed in worshipping Krishna that when his mother called him for breakfast, he did not wish to have the breakfast. Uddhava did not eat because Uddhava was thinking that his worship of Krishna is still incomplete. And only after completing the worship, Uddhava will eat. Uddhava's devotion and service did not slacken even in old age. In transcendental service, there is no satiation, hence there is no retirement. Even when Uddhava became old, his service attitude increased more and more, and hence he at once remembered Lord's lotus feet upon Vidura's questions. Uddhava forgot himself on the physical material world plane, and this is a sign of pure devotional service to the Lord. Uddhava did all his services at proper time. There are ecstatic symptoms also described. Uddhava remained silent for 1 muhurta, which is 48 minutes. Uddhava's devotional ecstasy appeared increasing as he became submerged in sweetness of Krishna's lotus feet. Uddhava remembered lotus feet of the Lord and all the transcendental services Uddhava did, and by such remembrance, Uddhava felt same ecstasy that he used to feel in the personal presence of the Lord, because Lord is absolute, and hence there is no difference between his remembrance and his personal presence. And such ecstatic feelings are displayed by highly advanced devotees like Uddhava. Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes and tears of separation due to total ecstasy, a sign of Uddhava's perfectional stage. of love of Godhead. Uddhava as a pure devotee is not at bodily plane because he is simply absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Any questions, comments, realizations before we discuss the second section, which is slightly heavier? Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can you repeat the last but one point?
Okay. Uddhava had transcendental bodily changes and tears of separation due to total ecstasy, a sign of Uddhava's perfectional stage of the love of Godhead. And the last point I said about Uddhava is, Uddhava is a pure devotee and he is not at bodily plane because Uddhava is absorbed completely in the thoughts of Krishna. Okay. Part 2 is verses 7 to 11. Unfortunate situation of Yadus. So Uddhava is also a Yadu, and we will discuss that Uddhava feels unfortunate. And Srila Prabhupada also always felt that so much is left to be done. Srila Prabhupada set up ISKCON single-handedly, and ISKCON is going to go on for next or in total 10,000 years. But Srila Prabhupada felt, oh, so much is still left. Why? Because this is the nature of pure devotee, that they are never satisfied with the services and they want to do more and more and more. Shalini, if you want to read verse number 7 translation.
Hare Krishna. Text 7. Shri Uddhava said, "My dear Vidura, the son of the world, Lord Krishna, has set and our house has now been swallowed by the great snake of time. What can I say to you about our welfare?" Hare Krishna.
So there's a nice analogy in the purport about the sun disappearing. Shalini will read purport paragraph number 2 and 3. Paragraph number 2 starts with the comparison of Krishna to sun is appropriate. And then we'll also read paragraph number 3, starting with as the sun appears in the morning. Before you read, Chandran Prabhu, do you have Bhagavatam with you or do you have it online?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have the computer and I can read, I don't mind.
Okay. Okay, I will get you to read the next one. Shalini, if you want to read paragraph 2 and 3,
Yes, Prabhu.
faster pace.
Hare Krishna. The comparison of Krishna to the sun is very appropriate. As soon as the sun sets, darkness automatically appears. But the darkness experienced by the common man does not affect the sun itself, either at the time of sunset, sunrise or sunset. Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are exactly like that of the sun. He appears and disappears in innumerable universes. As long as he is present in a particular universe, there is transcendental light in that universe. But the universe from which he passes away is put into darkness. His pastimes, however, are everlasting. The Lord is always present in some universe, just as the sun is present in either the eastern or western hemisphere. The sun is always present in India or in America. But when the sun is present in India, the American land is in darkness, and when the sun is present in America, the Indian hemisphere is in darkness. As the sun appears in the morning and gradually rises to the meridian and then again sets in one hemisphere, while simultaneously rising in the other, so Lord Krishna's disappearance in one universe and beginning of his different pastimes in another takes place simultaneously. As soon as one pastime is finished here, it is manifested in another universe. And thus his Nitya Leela or eternal pastimes are going on without ending. As the sunrise takes place once in 24 hours, similarly the pastimes of Lord Krishna take place in a universe once in a daytime of Brahma, the account of which is given in Bhagavad Gita as 4
4.3 billion.
4.3 billion solar years. But wherever the Lord is present, all his different pastimes as described in the revealed scriptures take place at regular intervals. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So as soon as Krishna disappears from material world, all atheistic people become powerful. And these atheistic people are compared to snakes and ghosts. One important point here to visualize, we just read in the purport that Krishna's pastimes are all eternal. So we don't have to think that by reading this entire Srimad Bhagavatam that we know everything. No, that is incorrect. Because the pastimes described in Srimad Bhagavatam are just like the headlines. Krishna's pastimes are unlimited, they are all eternal. And Srimad Bhagavatam only describes headlines, not everything. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is like completely true. Right now in India, we are facing this. Tamil Nadu state is supposed to be the most developed state in the whole of India. And the politicians in power there recently described as a big controversy. They said Sanatan Dharma is like a mosquito or something. So that is what the atheist people are in power. They become even more worse and they are talking all nonsense.
Yeah, very good realizations and very good remembrance. When you see material world things, and material world is a crazy place. We discussed last time and Uncle described today when we were doing the recap. Yeah, it's a crazy place. And we just have to use all the miseries of the material world to remember Krishna, just as Kunti Maharani has taught us in 1.8.25. So very good on the part of Gopal Prabhu to correlate as to what Bhagavatam is saying. So this is realization. What's the definition of realization? Anybody?
Relating to actual happenings, what we have learned.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Realization means we realize a fact that is already existing. So we already know that material world is a place of misery. And when we start realizing, when we have some misery, that's when we realize, oh, this is what scriptures have already said it. Okay, very good.
Even the war now is going on, Prabhu, is like accumulation of wealth and power.
Yeah.
What we just learned, that it's going on.
Yeah, very good.
It's the same thing, war everywhere.
Okay, very good. So verse number 8 is describing the unfortunate situation of Yadus. So this may seem like the discussion is going in circles. So all these verses 8, 9, 10, 11 are talking about the same point, about the unfortunate situation of Yadus, and we'll come back. Is it really unfortunate or what exactly is going on? Chandran Prabhu, if you want to read verse number 8 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Translation of the this universe with all its planets is most unfortunate. And even more unfortunate are the members of the Yadu dynasty because they could not identify Lord Hari as the personality of Godhead, any more than the fish could identify the moon. Hare Krishna.
So how pure devotee always thinks to be most unfortunate, although he has direct association with the Lord, although he has done personal services, still the pure devotee thinks most unfortunate, and this is the characteristics of a pure devotee. Just as Srila Prabhupada accomplished so much with ISKCON, with so many books, with so much, I mean, the list is endless. Still, Srila Prabhupada thought that so much is remaining to be done, even though he has done so much services. because Dwarka residents did not realize Bhagwan aspect of the Lord, Uddhava chastises Yadus only out of bewilderment and prema. Uddhava is also a Yadu, and Uddhava says Uddhava himself is also unfortunate. Brahman realization, Paramatma realizations are incomplete realizations of the absolute truth. Yadus considered Krishna as Paramatma, that the super soul is born in our family. The Yadus, meaning the Dwarkavasis, they did not understand Lord's power to the fullest extent. They did not consider Lord as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dwarka residents are fortunate that they joined in the pastimes, and Uddhava says, I am the only unfortunate, because Uddhava is separated from the Lord. The Dwarkavasis, they joined the pastimes and they went back with the Lord. Hence, only Uddhava is unfortunate one. Dwarka residents, they considered Lord as Paramatma, although they recognized the Lord's sweetness, but the Dwarkavasis did not recognize the God's greatness. Therefore, the Dwarkavasis are unfortunate. But since the Dwarkavasis went back with Krishna, hence they are actually fortunate. Again, this seems to be going in circles, and we'll come back to that. So the Dwarka residents lived with the Lord, but considered the Lord only as Paramatma. And Uddhava is saying that only I, Uddhava, did not live with the Lord. On the other hand, the Vrajvasis considered Krishna simply as a lovable person. Vrajvasis are higher than Dwarkavasis, and Dwarkavasis are one step lower than Vrajvasis. So this seems like an apparent contradiction, and Jiva Goswami clarifies that Dwarkavasis are actually fortunate that Dwarkavasi went back home with Krishna. But what is Uddhava saying? That I, Uddhava, I could not take the full benefit. Indirectly, Uddhava is actually appreciating Dwarkavasis. Dwarkavasis, they lived with Krishna, but I, Uddhava, I did not live with Krishna. And the more answer to this seeming contradiction is in upcoming verse number 10, that Uddhava really is appreciating Dwarkavasis. That Dwarkavasis are not unfortunate, but actually they are fortunate. But right now here, because of bewilderment of prema, Uddhava is chastising the Dwarkavasis. And Uddhava as the pure devotee always feel themselves as unfortunate. In that sense, Uddhava is saying that Dwarkavasis, Yadus, are unfortunate, and Uddhava is also a Yadu. And this is the characteristics of pure devotees. Actually, Dwarkavasis are not unfortunate, but Uddhava is only chastising the Dwarkavasis, the Yadus, out of bewilderment of prema. And more discussion is coming up. Right now, I will first describe the analogy described in this verse. One of the analogy is that from this ocean of milk, the moon was born, but the fish in the milk ocean could not recognize that the moon was not another fish and was different from them. The fish took the moon to be one of them, or maybe something illuminating, but nothing more. The unfortunate persons who do not recognize Lord Krishna are like this fish, and that's what Uddhava is doing, something similar. So the moon was
Prabhuji,
born, hold on, let me finish. The moon was born from ocean milk may seem contradictory, but this is axiomatic truth. Just as cow dung is purifying. In Canto 8 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastime of churning of milk ocean is described. That from the churning of the milk ocean, there are so many things appearing. Moon was born from ocean milk, but the fish in the ocean milk could not recognize that moon was not another fish, but actually moon was different from them. The fish took the moon to be one of them, or maybe something illuminating, but nothing more. Similarly, the unfortunate persons who do not recognize Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, in spite of seeing all his transcendental qualities, are like such fish. They take Krishna to be one of them, although thinking that he is little extraordinary in opulences. More unfortunate were the family members of Yadu dynasty, who were always in company of the Lord, but were unable to recognize him as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uddhava lamented on his own misfortune as well, because although Uddhava knew Krishna to be Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uddhava could not properly use the opportunity to render devotional service to the Lord. The pure devotee of the Lord, they always think himself as the most unfortunate. I will pause here for any questions, comments, realizations, Uncle.
What I understand, I don't know, you correct me, was Uddhava was confused. That bewilderment is due to confusion, isn't it?
The bewilderment is not because of confusion. The bewilderment is because of prema.
I see. Yes. That is positive. Thank you.
Okay. Everybody on the same page?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Right.
I had one question. You said that the Dwarkavasis, they recognized, only the Paramatma feature of the Lord Prabhu. Then how did they go back to Godhead if they have not understood the absolute truth?
Yeah, Krishna took them back. So the Dwarkavasis are already pure devotees. They all came here to facilitate Krishna's pastime. So if you recall, one of the incident after Krishna left is that Arjuna could not protect the queens of Krishna from cowherd boy. So who are these cowherd boys? We have discussed in Canto 1 that this is Krishna himself who appeared to take the queens back with him. And otherwise, if they were ordinary cowherd boys, they would have not been able to touch the queens. The queens are at the transcendental level, and ordinary material world people cannot touch the queen. So it was Krishna who came to take the queens back. So queens, while they were here, they were in the Dwarka pastime, and Krishna took them back to the Vraja pastime. We discussed this in Canto 1, as well as the other pastime of the Yadus fighting among themselves to kill each other. All this was Krishna's arrangement, because it was impossible to kill the Yadus. The Yadus are from spiritual world. So Krishna had this plan of how to take all the Yadus back home. So it was Krishna who took them back. Shalini?
Yes, Prabhu. Very clear. Thank you.
That was to fulfill the curse of the Rishi Krishna came as a cowherd boy, correct?
Yeah,
Prabhuji,
you are
if I
correct. So it was the queens who had done, who had laughed at the rishi who had little physical defect, and the rishi cursed the queens that they will be captured by rogues, and then the queens again pleased the same rishi, and then the rishi said, okay, that first, even though the Lord will be your husband, you will be captured by rogues, but then the Lord will come and protect you. And that's exactly what happened. That Lord himself came as rogue in cowherd boy, captured the queens to satisfy the curse, and then it's actually is dual, that he relieved them as well. Okay, very good remembrance. Mother Jija, if you want to read verse number 9 translation, and we'll continue this discussion about the comparison and the chastisement of Yadus. Mother Jija, unmute, verse number 9 translation. Somehow Mother Jija is not able to unmute. Mother Chandra Aunty, go ahead, number 9.
Prabhu, can I?
Verse number 9. Text 9. The Yadus were all experienced devotees, learned and expert in psychic study. Over and above this, they were always with the Lord in all kinds of relaxations, and still they were only able to know him as the one supreme who dwells everywhere. Hare Krishna.
So all those Yadus were intelligent, but by strength of my own intelligence, I cannot understand the Lord. Rather, one can understand the Lord only by Krishna's mercy. And this is what Krishna wanted to prove, that although Yadus are so intelligent, still cannot understand the Lord by intelligence, but can understand only by Krishna's mercy. Vrajvasis did not know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And no one says Vrajvasis are unfortunate, but Vrajvasis are considered more fortunate. Cowherd boys, Vrajvasis playing with Krishna is the most fortunate. Uddhava is feeling how Vrajvasis had love for Krishna. That kind of love these Dwarkavasis did not develop. Hence, Dwarkavasis are unfortunate. Dwarkavasis are therefore one step inferior to Vrajvasis. I mean, there's no question of inferiority, just in comparison between Dwarkavasis and Vrajvasis. The Dwarkavasis are way elevated compared to rest of the world. So actually, Dwarkavasis are also fortunate because they also went back. They considered Krishna as Paramatma. In that sense, we can understand what is going on. So Uddhava feels that Dwarkavasi did not have the relationship with Krishna like Vrajvasis, but still are fortunate because they were living with Krishna, resting with Krishna, because they considered Krishna as master, plus they went back. So Dwarkavasis are still fortunate. And the only comparison Uddhava is making is that Dwarkavasis did not rise to the level of Vrajvasis of pure love. So I'll do a quick comparison of the Krishna consciousness of the residents of Dwarka with that of the residents of Vrindavan. First is, although Yadus, meaning Dwarkavasis, were highly learned and experts in psychic study, still they could not understand the Lord fully. They understood Lord partially only as Paramatma and not as Bhagwan. This lack of knowledge about the Lord was not due to lack of scholarship, but due to their misfortune. In Vrindavan, however, Lord is not even known as Paramatma because the residents of Vrindavan are pure, unconventional devotees of the Lord. And they think the Lord only as their object of love. Still, the Dwarkavasis are fortunate because they lived with the Lord, they rested with the Lord, they went back with the Lord. But Uddhava considers himself alone as unfortunate because Uddhava did not live with the Lord like the Dwarkavasis. Questions, comments, realizations? Next two verses that we'll cover are also just continuation and little heavy discussion. So we have so far discussed this apparent contradiction, and this verse number 10 is important, where Uddhava is actually glorifying Dwarkavasis. Chandran Prabhu, if you want to read verse number 10 translation.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Under no circumstances can the words of person bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord deviate the intelligence of those who are completely surrendered souls. Hare Krishna.
So Uddhava is actually glorifying Dwarkavasis, that their intelligence cannot be bewildered. Devotees absorbed in Paramatma realization, they cannot be bewildered because they are perfected beings. On the other hand, those under illusory energy, they have different concepts that the Lord is an ordinary human being, that Lord does not have a form. They have so many nonsense philosophies. All these different conceptions, these different philosophies are because of the bewilderment of the Lord's external illusory energy. And Srila Prabhupada has reconciled this apparent contradiction very nicely, that Dwarkavasis are actually glorious because they got direct association of the Lord. The only fact is that the Dwarkavasis did not rise to the level of Vrajvasis. The Dwarkavasis are different from those who consider Krishna as ordinary human being because these other people are envious of Krishna. Considering Krishna as Brahma Jyoti, meaning the Brahman effulgence as higher, is hellish. And this is also because they are envious of Krishna. And to bewilder these two kinds of people, therefore Krishna considered performing these bewildering pastimes. Because of the bewildering pastimes, hence these ordinary envious people think that Krishna also had to suffer like human beings because they think Krishna is ordinary human being. But Krishna says, I am not affected by anything in the material world. One who understands that Krishna is beyond karma can also attain perfection. Atheistic persons think that because Krishna killed so many people on earth, hence Krishna had to suffer by the hunter killing Krishna. Now, this is an eye-opener discussion that we all know that the hunter's arrow only touched the lotus feet of Krishna. Just by an arrow touching the feet, how can a person die? This point, common people do not understand because of their atheistic nature. But all such philosophy cannot touch Dwarkavasis even at the time of death. Their intelligence cannot be bewildered. Therefore, here Srila Prabhupada has reconciled and Uddhava in this verse number 10 is clearly glorifying the position of Dwarkavasis. So far we have gone in circles that we have read that Dwarkavasis are unfortunate, but actually Dwarkavasis are fortunate because of direct association of the Lord. Dwarkavasis are actually fortunate because they have devotion. Questions, comments, realizations before we discuss the last verse for the day?
Prabhuji, once again, I request you, I missed it. They were envious. That is Brijvasis, right?
No, Brajvasis are not envious. Ordinary people are envious.
Okay.
So the
Thank
two
you.
kinds of people that I described are that first category is where Krishna, they consider Krishna as an ordinary human being because they are envious of Krishna. These envious people are ordinary people. They are different than Dwarkavasis. And the second set of people, they consider Krishna or the Brahman effulgence to be highest. And this is also a hellish. And why somebody consider Brahman effulgence as higher is because these people are also envious of Krishna. So all these two kinds of people are different than Dwarkavasis. And to bewilder them more, Krishna performed bewildering pastimes. Uncle, and everybody clarifies?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think Duryodhana is the best example of a person who never recognized Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, despite Krishna showing his
Universal form.
universal form.
Yeah, very good correlation. Yeah, good example. Okay. Okay, Gopal Prabhu, last verse, number 11, or the last verse for today.
Hare Krishna. Verse number 11, translation. Lord Sri Krishna, who manifested his eternal form before the vision of all on the earth, performed his disappearance by removing his form from the sight of those who were unable to see him as he is due to not executing required penance. Hare Krishna.
So he took his form when he disappeared, means Krishna never left his body here. So atheistic think that Lord died and his body was burned. This is incorrect. Srila Prabhupada says, so there's a Sanskrit verse, a Sanskrit word in the second line, avitrapa drishnam. Srila Prabhupada explains that this avitrapa drishnam, that devotees cannot take their eyes away from the darshan of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada then compares the avitrapta drishnam for materialistic people also, with an example that a fish given so much enjoyment on land, the fish cannot enjoy anything on land. This is how materialistic people cannot enjoy. And an example is, another analogy given is about sugarcane juice, that friend number 1 is describing sugarcane to friend number 2, and this friend number 2 has never seen sugarcane. So this friend number 2, hearing the sugarcane description, sees bamboo sticks and thinks that the bamboo stick is sugarcane. And this friend number 2 tries to make juice out of bamboo sticks, and he was trying with different bamboo sticks, but there is no juice. Similarly, materialistic people are trying to satisfy differently, but they cannot get satisfied at all. Is exactly like the fish trying to enjoy on land. Thus, Srila Prabhupada explains that this avitrapta drashnam applies to devotees and non-devotees in different ways. That devotees cannot take their eyes away from the darshan of the Lord, versus non-devotees cannot understand anything, and they are just trying to satisfy themselves differently, but they cannot be satisfied at all. Krishna comes to material world to do pastimes to attract conditioned people. But common people, because of lack of their piety, are not attracted to Krishna's pastimes. Common people think the hunter killed the Lord. Maybe the Lord went back, but when Lord comes to the material world, he is subject to birth and death. This is incorrect understanding, atheistic understanding. Shri Ishopanishad clearly says, Lord does not have veins, etc. means Lord does not have material body. But when Lord comes to the material world, he comes in his transcendental body, and when he goes back, he takes his body back with him. Questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, while on this subject, it is little out of the way. Kindly bear with me. Perhaps you would have read or seen this Achilles heel story. Whether this was interpreted by atheists that Krishna died due to the arrow hit his leg. In the Achilles story, it is portrayed the powerful man who can never be killed was killed by Achilles' heel. That is why he was killed through an arrow which was shot during the war. Could you
So I don't know what
correct me?
I don't know all the references that you made. I have not heard, but the point what we have described here, so it's not the arrow during the war, it is afterwards. The first point you have to recognize is that an arrow being shot to the feet, even for ordinary people, the person does not die. He may get injured by the arrow being shot at the feet. It is not likely that the arrow shot at the feet of ordinary person, that the ordinary person will die. Therefore, here it's we discussed that atheistic people do not understand that Krishna does not have material body. Krishna has transcendental body, and therefore in verse number 11 it says that Krishna took his body with him, meaning he did not leave his body because it's not material to begin with. It is transcendental. So it is atheistic's incorrect understanding that the Lord died and his body was burned. It is not part of verse number 11 clearly states he took his body back with him. Well, what was there to burn? Nothing to be burned to begin with. It's not material body. Does that help you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So before I give you homework, couple of announcements that next Sunday, 5th November onwards, due to daylight saving time change, the class times will change. So Toronto time will continue to be 8 a.m. start time, no change. India time will change to 6:30 p.m. start time. I will send messages in the chat as well, but please make a note. And as I said that from today, Kartik month has started. So this is very dear to Krishna, and Kartik month is very auspicious. Any additional devotional services carries 1,000 times more benefit. So try your best to do some devotional services according to your capacity, and try to offer ghee lamp at the home temple or the temple every day. And last point, I will give the homework for today. One question. Compare the Krishna consciousness of the residents of Dwarka with that of the residents of Vrindavan. Comes from verse number 8 and 9. Questions, comments, realizations before we stop for the day?
Prabhuji, it is a practical problem in our country what we have. When we keep any smoke or light, there will be a fire alarm. We are little skeptical about it. What do we do? Without lighting, can we keep the ghee in a cup with the cotton thread? What do you suggest?
Well, when you light a lamp, the alarm goes on?
Yes, here we had a lot of such situation in this building.
Okay, I mean, that seems to be a very powerful alarm. That a simple lamp.
Even with the smoke in the midnight, 1:30, and we all came down, and actually one old lady, 93 years, broke her pelvic bone out of tension when she tried to come out, and she passed away.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no point causing distress to others. You can. I have seen there are lamps coming in a light electric bulb form. You can try.
Yeah, that we have. That we are every day lighting already.
Yeah, so that you can light. I mean, does not make sense to cause trouble to everyone. Seems to be a very powerful alarm that a simple small lamp or a diya can cause the fire alarm to go off in the whole building. So avoid that, and no point causing distress to so many. Of course, there will be financial implications also. Just light that other lamp, the electric lamp, and we'll live with that for the time being.
Thank you.
Although I don't know the answer, I'm suggesting this out of my my contaminated consciousness. We'll always ask a senior devotee when we get a chance, but for the time being, try this. Okay, we'll stop here. We are bang at 9:30 a.m. Toronto time. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.